Have you been unleashed?
Unleashed.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Horizon Advisors Unleashed podcast. This is Andrew Henricks. I'm back again. Feels like it's been a little while.
It has.
I'm glad to be back. Yeah, it has been a little while, hasn't it? Nice to see you again. I'm joined here, as you can see, with my partner Ryan Cuss. What's going on, Ryan?
How's it going?
It's going good. It's going really good. It's been a busy last couple months, both personally and professionally. When you combine those two, it gets even more extra busy, but for a lot of good reasons, some of which we'll talk about today.
Yeah, we're midsummer now. It's middle of July as we record this. So
Yeah, it's crazy. It definitely seems like the summers are going by much faster than they used to. But again, for good reasons. And but no, I'm doing great. What about you? What's going on?
just, we've been enjoying the summer. We did a podcast, I think, a little, like maybe a month ago on some of the up north spots that we like. So it's been a good summer so far. It's been probably, I think this year has been one of my favorite years of my life so far. It's been exciting.
Yeah, I can attest to that too. I would say I probably agree, and probably the same on this front for, again, a lot of reasons. But it's definitely been a efficient, knocking out a lot of things for sure. A lot of life things to do. But yeah, you guys mentioned, you talked about up north. Haven't been up north Michigan this year. It's actually, I feel like it's been a little while since I've been up there too. But I know that's one of the prime spots for everybody here in Michigan. It's one of their favorites, and it's a great spot. Definitely one of a kind. I think one of the spots we're going to talk about today, to kind of further that point, is also one of a kind. A little bit harder to reach and get to than northern Michigan, at least for the people who live in Michigan, down more on the Metro Detroit area or down south of southern Michigan. But it's hard to get to no matter where you are if you're not in the country, and that is Italy. So I guess a little brief intro of what we wanted to talk about today. Again, more kind of travel oriented and what we've been up to and some of the cool things that we've done, and sharing some experiences I think is really important to take a step back and appreciate some of the things that you've been able to do to get here, and also to share that with people too, for people maybe who have dreamed about going like we did, or have planned to go, or are planning to go, or have been debating it between where to go if they choose this or that, and maybe it could help sway or improve some of those decision making.
Hopefully we inspire one person to go to Italy.
I hope so. I really do, because I think with the perspective now that I have, definitely worth it. And I think, the one thing I will start with is kind of like with other ones that we've talked about, experiences and stuff in the past. I've been, again, very fortunate to, I love travel. So I've been very fortunate to be a lot of places. And experiencing those places is really fun and memorable and great to me. I wasn't always like that way, but over the last decade or so, I will say it's definitely changed a lot, and I've really enjoy and going and seeing these places. And the reason why I bring all that up is Italy, to me, was always someplace that definitely was always on the list. It was for sure definitely not underestimated. It was I always heard good things and wanted to go. But for some reason, just being honest, it just wasn't my top pick. It never was. I had other options on my radar, and there was always something that maybe I just, for whatever reason, I would pick over Italy. I don't know why, no matter how good or how great I heard it was, or amazing in pictures and everything. For some reason, I just had other ones. And the reason why I went was, I was blessed to get married back in June. It's been a little over a month now. And my now wife, her dream was to go to Italy. So when we were doing honeymoon planning and all of those things, obviously my decision leaned towards what she wanted to do, of course. And I did not reluctantly allow that to happen. I totally agreed to go, and that's why I ended up in Italy, which is why it jumped to the top of the list instead of maybe on my personal list. It wasn't the next place I wanted to go, but I'm very happy that I did. I know you had been there before, right? Once or twice?
Yeah, I've been there I've been to Italy twice. The first time, heavy, tourism, sightseeing, going and seeing everything. And then the second time, which, I was out there the same time as you, just more relaxed, nothing planned. So
Definitely different, for sure.
I mean, I'd say let's break it down before we get into what we love about Italy. Let's talk about, what does it take to get to Italy? What would you maybe want to consider if you've never been to anywhere in Europe? You're dealing with some time change and
Sure.
A pretty decent flight. I mean, how long was the flight? I know I flew straight from Detroit to Paris, and that was, I think, around 8-hour flight or so. And then we spent some time there and then went to Italy. How long was did you have direct? How long was your flight?
No, we flew into Naples, and we had to do obviously there was options, of course, but what we did was we through JFK in New York.
Okay.
So LaGuardia and JFK are the
The
two big ones.
Little flight, and then the long
one.
flight was constant. Yep. Okay.
And I would say, it's I can't off the top of my head. I can see the map, but I don't. I think Italy is farther than Paris in terms of where it is on the map. I believe it is. But it was, it was like a 9-hour flight from JFK, 8:45 to 9. And I have done Paris before. I've done, Amsterdam, and I've done London, right? Those like the big hubs for places to connect to over there. And those are obviously, so I had some perspective. And yeah, so that was definitely the longest Europe flight that I've been on. I've been on longer flights to other places, but from America to Europe, that's the longest flight that I've been on to Europe. So it was it's a little bit of a ways away to get there. But yeah, I flew through JFK, so through New York.
Yeah, and I know both of us, we kind of went with the same strategy. We flew out there on a red eye, so I think my flight left Detroit like around 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm.
So you get on the plane, you eat dinner, you have a couple drinks, and then the goal is, to get some sleep ultimately.
Yep.
So that you can sleep as much as you can. Some people are better at it than others. And then you kind of arrive in the morning time the next day at your destination, hopefully ready to go. Because I think it's where we were. I think it was around a 6-hour time difference. There were 6 hours behind.
6 hours, I believe, 5 or 6, for sure. And so that strategy, and I think we spoke a little bit about this in the past on some of the other travel stuff. But if you've never done an international travel like this before, where there is a time change, I do strongly recommend. I've even done the things where I'm over across the pond and back, and maybe a lot of people who are maybe if you're automotive or some other global industry from Detroit, you may have done some of these trips before because of work, if you work for a global company. But if you have the ability to strategize it yourself, I strongly recommend doing it this way, because I've done it several times now, and it works very well. Even if you can get a little bit of sleep on the flight, it's really just battling one day. Even if you don't get a lot of sleep or you don't sleep well on the plane, if you get a little bit of rest, it's really just battling one day. And you'd rather battle just one day rather than have jet lag or be kind of messed up with the sleep schedule for the couple days into your trip, because that eats away at some of the time, and you'd want to be lively and doing things. So yes, I flew from Detroit to JFK. Like I mentioned, that flight was after work, and we basically landed in JFK like around 6 o'clock, 6:30. And then the flight to Italy was like 8 or 8:30. So, 9 hours, you factor that in, plus then the 5-hour change. So we landed, around like, I don't know, maybe it's like 8 or 9. I can't remember exactly, but it was earlier in the morning. So again, if you can get some sleep on the plane, you land and it's the morning time. If you get through that day and just battle that day and then fall asleep at a normal bedtime for that time schedule, you've kind of taken care of the jet lag the first day. So I do think that strategy is definitely something to consider if you've never done it before, or if you have done it before and you messed up or did it a different way. Consider this way the next time because it can be very beneficial.
For me, it worked really well. So.
Yeah, I agree. The London one is a common one that I do it that way. Again, once you get used to it, the first time might be a little wonky, but once you get used to it, it's a good way to do it for sure. So that's how you get there. Obviously, there's a lot of flights. What I did was, you talk about getting there, right? I saved up Sky Miles to purchase the tickets, which, again, it's not cheap to do any international flight regardless. But if you plan for it and save for it, I saved up my Sky Miles for, basically a couple years to pay for these tickets full and clear. So, looking at it that way, of course, the budget matters. So looking at, the layovers and what times and all those things, of course, do affect the price, and what company you are flying through also matters. So that's something to consider. But I flew Delta. I believe you flew Delta too.
Yeah.
And obviously out of Detroit, Delta's a big hub here, so there's a lot of options to get there. But to that point, the next phase is to Italy specifically, you have a lot of options of where to fly into, because like Ryan said, he's been there before and he did sightseeing stuff the first time and more relaxed this time. Well, depending on what you're trying to accomplish does also determine where you're flying into.
Yeah, Rome is one of their biggest airports, I would say.
Yep.
I flew into Florence,
Naples.
which was a pretty small airport.
Mm-hmm. They have airports all over. I flew into Naples. That's because, and you could have done Rome too, in my case, but that's because the first leg of my trip was to go towards the Amalfi Coast, which was about an hour and 20 or so, and anywhere in between there, depending on traffic, to get in a car to the Amalfi Coast from Naples. So that's why I flew in there. But the one thing about Europe too, to that point, is, and something you should know if you haven't gone over there, is they do a lot of train travel. That's something that's a little bit different than here. Of course, in America we have trains and you can utilize them, but it's nowhere near as common as a resource of travel as it is over there. Big cities, of course, have the subways, just like New York and Chicago and all those places here, but they're very, very prevalent over there. And the trains themselves, the above ground trains, even more so. So you do also have, that ability. Many people maybe won't even consider that without really looking into it, but you can do kind of multiple legs of these trips to Italy if you fly into one, spend some time there, then take a train down to somewhere else or up to somewhere else, and then spend some time in that location, and probably can get your second flight home from that spot, not where you flew in, which is sometimes a little unique to some of that travel too.
Yeah, I know the first time, we went to Italy, we went with one of my wife's best friends, Val, and her dad. Her dad was from Italy, so he had a lot of insight. He helped us plan a lot of trips, and we did a lot of trains on that trip. And what that did for us, how we used the trains, is instead of staying in the more expensive hotels right in the big cities, because when you're staying in the big city, it's always going to be more expensive if you get something halfway decent. We would stay like in a town or two over, and then in the morning hop on a train, go into the big city, do all the things that we wanted to, take the train back to the cheaper hotel. So I know for us that really helped affordability. We were really trying to keep the price low. I mean, I think we spent, like, without airfare and like incidentals, I think we spent like $2,500 for our whole trip. We were there for 2 weeks, but it's because of a lot of that planning. Now, at the same token, now that I've traveled the way I did this past time, I'd prefer to just stay right in the cities because I enjoyed it, saved time and all that. But depending on what your budget is and what you're trying to accomplish, I mean, you can use the trains. It's super easy.
Yeah, just like with everything, there's always options and alternatives, but that is something to strongly consider is those trains. And you can even more so, just like on the flights where you have main cabin, premium, first class, whatever it is, they have those on the trains too. So if you wanted to, maybe stay outside and do something like Ryan said, but maybe make the trains enjoyable and go premium or first class or something on the train tickets. For the short time you're on the train, if it's a short ride, maybe that you do that to make it a little bit enjoyable or maybe a little more fancy or something, and spend more on that rather than like the hotel or other things. So there's so many things you can consider, but that's just a little unique thing about Europe that's a little bit different than America that you can consider and maybe tackle a couple different areas in one trip. And that kind of leads to, I guess, the trips that we did have. Mine was a honeymoon, right? So it's, we like to, we weren't really like to think of it that way to be all, extremely romantic. And of course, those moments happen just naturally because of what it is, but that wasn't like our goal. We like to travel and enjoy and see things and be active. So that was more of the goal, is really just a vacation, another vacation, a couple nice dinners. But the point of that is we had a couple spots that we knew we wanted to go to. Italy has a lot of beautiful spots that you could definitely go just for that.
There's a lot of history there.
A lot, definitely. So you have all those options, and it's hard to narrow it down. So you might have to do one now, and then if you like it so much, and then you go back in 5-10 years or whatever it is and do it again and do a different one, or you like it so much that you include that one again and maybe try a different one. And that's really what we did. So we had about 2 weeks there for the honeymoon, and we wanted to make sure that we did enough but not too much, because you just can't tackle it all in one. It's impossible unless you're there for a month or two.
I did for 2 weeks. The first one, it was not relaxing.
It was too much.
Too much.
Yeah, that's probably what I would say too. Just based on what I did, I would say it was almost too much. It was maybe just in that sweet spot where it was right getting to too much, but it was enough. So what we did was, like I mentioned, we flew into Naples. We took a car from Naples to Positano, which is a city in the Amalfi Coast. Also, sometimes a confusing factor is when people say the Amalfi Coast, there is actually a city of Amalfi that is in the Amalfi Coast, but there's other cities in the Amalfi Coast.
Towns,
that you can, towns is probably the better word, that you can go to. So Positano is one of those towns. Amalfi is right next to Positano, and then you have like Ravello and Sorrento, and you can go to Capri, which is a town on an island that you have to take a boat to or a ferry to. So you have all of these little spots, but when you say the Amalfi Coast, just, again, if you don't really have any perspective or you've just heard that term, there's many little places in there that you can go to.
I remember when I went, we did not hit the Amalfi this time, but when I went there the first time, what I loved about it is, if you can picture it, there's these little towns. They have some stores, maybe a couple little restaurants, but they kind of like pack these little towns right on the water, and a lot of times they're kind of almost built into like a crevice or a cliff, where, the roads are pretty steep, but you get these really unique beaches and water areas. I mean, my favorite part of it was, I remember just walking along the water. You go to a restaurant, there's a bunch of fish just sitting on ice. You pick the fish, they cook it for you just right there, and you eat it. I mean, I remember the food being just incredible on the coast.
The food wasn't, I had the best lobster pasta I've ever had so far it was actually at the beach club. It wasn't even at one of the restaurants that we went to, which they were great too, don't get me wrong, but the lobster pot was like a rigatoni red sauce, white, like a reddish white, almost looked like a vodka sauce, but it wasn't vodka sauce. And it was the same thing. So they had the pasta, and it was basically like chefs, I basically told them, I said, whatever the chef recommends with this lobster. And the lobster was fresh caught that day. They have them right there. You pick the one you want, then they cook the lobster for you, and then the chef makes the pasta at your recommendation. And I just asked with this lot, they had the chefs and everything there, and it was the best lobster pasta I've ever had at La Scogliera Beach Club. Shout out to them.
But you got these quaint little towns. Yeah. I mean, it's not like a city with all these big buildings and things like that. I mean, they're very unique.
It's very small little town. A lot of elevation, not necessarily elevation in terms of you just being at a high elevation point. It might be, but I'm talking about because of them being built into the mountains and being built into these very unique locations on the coast, you have to go up and down if you want to get down to the harbor and then like go back up to like a hotel or vice versa. You either have to wind all the way down, right? Because it's not just like a straight road down. It's very windy. It takes like 20, 30 minutes to get down there. Or you do the steps and go straight down the steps. But obviously it's a good amount of exercise, and I enjoyed it, honestly. But it's definitely exercise. So if you struggle with that, that's something
Mobility,
you have to keep that in mind and at least prepare for that. Make sure your hotel has like a maybe a little golf cart shuttle going down to the harbor every hour or so or something like that. You just got to prepare for that, because if you didn't know that or didn't think about that, it's definitely something you need to consider. But the water, the views, the everything of the was definitely 10 of 10, no question. Definitely worth all the hype. I can tell you from, again, someone that I knew it was going to be beautiful, but just for some reason didn't have an urge necessarily to go. My wife pushed me to have that urge, and it was 100% worth it. I should have had the urge, is my point. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it's super unique. I mean, I've been to a lot of places. The only other place that I can think that's close to the Amalfi Coast is kind of like some of the Greek islands kind of remind me of that a little bit, but you just don't get that with the sheerness going down to the sea, and then they just jam these little old towns in there, and it's really cool.
One other unique thing we'll talk before we switch over to the second leg, which Ryan was in that location too, so it makes sense. One unique thing that we did take a boat, to Capri, the island I mentioned a little bit ago, that little town that's on the island. That's where all the high-end shops are. It's very famous for the luxury shops and all the designers and all the events.
Super popular over the last couple of years.
Yeah, it was very busy when we were there, but we were also there during the prime time. That matters too, as a point. But one very unique thing, which I don't know if our captain was just blowing smoke or just trying to make it comfortable. It doesn't rattle me by any means, but my wife does not like sharks. She's very fearful of sharks. So I love the ocean. I swim, I snorkel, I do all those things, and I love it. But that got brought up because we wanted to go swim, and the captain told us that there are no sharks in Amalfi Coast, because he was saying, and I don't know exactly the location, but wherever, like, I think it's like the Strait of Gibraltar, or it might not be that location, but the little kind of nook where the boats come through to get into that part of the ocean. The sea is a very narrow, and apparently the sharks don't go through there, don't like to go through there because of that narrowness. They stay out in the deeper ocean, the water, so they don't come into that sea. Well, he said he lived in Positano for 35 years. He's never heard of a shark attack. He's never seen a shark. He's never.
If you don't like sharks, that's the place to be.
So if you don't like sharks and you want to swim, and that'd be the spot. But to that point, so that conversation, I thought that was unique. Again, I don't know. You can fact check me. Maybe there was, and he was just trying to make my wife comfortable. But it didn't faze me because I wanted to go swim in the caves. And the one unique thing about, they have these like royal blue type of caves. There's a special spot where these caves, basically are caked into the sea line or the shore, and you swim in, and the caves, it's all pitch dark in there. But like when you swim in, and once you get into the pitch dark spot of it and you turn around and look out of the cave, it's the most beautiful blue shimmer of water that I've ever seen, just because of how the sun hits the water, and because you're in the dark and you look out to the light, and it was like this bright blue, beautiful blue, clear to the bottom. I had my GoPro and I caught it on, which was cool. And then we threw some little bit of fish food in the water while I was swimming. So some of the fish came by, and I got to swim with the fish. So that was really cool. Nice. Unique thing. So, but definitely recommend it. 100% if you can get out there and you're interested in that. It's a beautiful spot and very, very fun, and a lot of things to do. But that leads to the kind of the second point of it, which where Ryan can chime in, is which led me to my second half. I'll let him share, but we coincidentally were there at the same time on my honeymoon, and he was there for another reason, but we were in the same spot coincidentally, which was a cool coincidence. But
yeah, we planned to meet up.
Yeah, so we planned a meetup in Tuscany. So after our point in Amalfi ended, we went back to Naples and then took the train, like we mentioned before, up to Florence. And then we were in Florence for a little bit, which was cool. And then same thing, we took a car from Florence to Volterra, Tuscany area, which was kind of the same distance as the car from Naples to Amalfi Coast, was kind of the same car ride from Florence train station to Tuscany, where we were staying. And that was the second leg of our journey, which is where we met up with Ryan and Rachel.
Yeah, we did it a little bit different. We decided to rent a car, so for people that are maybe nervous about driving in a country or area you've never been, it's all the same. There might be a few little bit of differences, but you drive on the same side of the road. The cars are all the same, so there's no real learning curve to it. In Florence, and when you start heading south from Florence and kind of getting into the countryside, I think that's probably my favorite part of Italy, because you get into this, rich land, really nice hilly areas, a lot of farmland, a lot of old type buildings and wineries and all that kind of stuff. And, I really, really enjoy that kind of stuff. So, yeah, we met up at a location Andrew picked out. He had identified the property, and I was like, hey, if you don't mind if I'd stop by. So we kind of had a meet up, and we had a dinner one night. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, I think the property, what was the name of the property?
Borgo Pignano.
Yeah, what a unbelievable property. I think it was sitting on like 100+ acres, of rolling hill.
More than that.
You're
yeah.
sitting up on top of the hill. So like when you're at the hotel, you're overlooking. I mean, it felt like you could see for miles, and you're just seeing hill over hill. And it was just really incredible countryside.
Yeah, it was like almost like a medieval type of estate. It wasn't like a castle per se, but it had the old.
Felt like it almost.
It did feel like it. It had that old medieval castle type of feel to it. That's how it looked, and it's been there for a long time. And like right, up on the hill, you could overlook. There was an infinity pool that overlooked the edge, and you could see all the hills for miles and miles, and all the hills of Tuscany. It was beautiful. Definitely a different type of beauty than the Amalfi Coast. Completely.
Totally different.
Totally different vibe. Which is kind of the last thing I'll mention about the Amalfi Coast is that's more of a lively beachside kind of bumping town, almost, kind of a little bit of that going on. Whereas Tuscany is all about
sleepy,
relax, sleep. The wine, the views of the hills and the countryside. It's a completely different vibe. Completely. Which again is why you can do so many unique things in Italy that are totally different for what you're looking for.
Yeah, you can go to Rome, huge city, all the museums, churches, everything. I mean, you could spend a whole week in Rome, the Colosseum.
Yep.
That's the hustle and bustle. Where we were, that was countryside.
Yeah, I would say, to kind of give an example, it would be Tuscany is like going to like Napa Valley and Sonoma,
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
Right. That would be like that. Positano, Amalfi Coast would be like kind of going to maybe like a Miami in a way, not because of the big cities or the big towers and stuff, but just because of the water and the vibe and the liveliness. Maybe another beach city would make more sense, maybe in California or something for a true comparison, but it's really unique. So you can't really compare it that way to something in America. And then like a Rome would kind of be like a Washington, D.C. type of feel, right? You got all the museums, you got all the the history,
yeah.
And you got all that stuff. So it's like you got all those things that you can do, and it's just very unique in that sense.
There was a little town right next to where we stayed with Andrew. It's called San Gimignano, and it was probably like about a half hour away, and this was a medieval town. It had all the rock stone walls surrounding the whole town, and it basically was a town that was all encapsulated. And now it's restaurants, shopping. I think there's a church. I don't know if people live in the city. I don't think they do, but maybe they do. But super ancient. I mean, super old. really no amenities. I mean, this is like old country castle type of properties.
Definitely. Yeah, great spot. Again, completely different, not from a bad and good situation, just completely different in what you're looking for. And you can definitely get both, and you can do both, right? If you go for enough time and split it, like how I did, you can do both, and get both feels and see what you like. And then maybe if you go back one day or you change it up, you can kind of see which one you liked, and maybe you do that one again, and then another different one next time or something like that. But, to kind of, I guess, conclude in a way on the travel and all that, a couple tips, I would say, just from Europe travel, but in Italy, again, specifically, I would say to, bring some cash to prepare to, convert it to the local currency, because, and, the next tip would be to have a credit card that doesn't have a foreign transaction fee like an American Express or something like that. But sometimes they don't take American Express. So using that cash is something that is, good. And then if you take a cab or you do things like that, sometimes the cash is better. So having that is useful.
Another little tip, just while you're on that, we actually used our ATM and got cash out of just some random ATM there. In our conversion on it, I showed a few people that really knew conversions, like the dollar to euro or whatever, very well. And they were shocked at how good of a conversion the bank Chase gave us on that. So you can get the cash there, but you got to just make sure you're doing it in the right way so you don't pay extra for it.
You don't want to. If you go to the big name conversions, you'll get whacked big time. Yeah. If you have a bank that, if you have a status or something at a bank, or you have a special card that waives ATM fees, that could be a definitely a way to do it, is to just get it out of the ATM there instead. For sure, that could be another solution. But those little things, you can save a couple bucks by doing that. So, have a card that, again, doesn't take foreign transaction fees and stuff like that, and then have cash or be ready to do the cash, is a tip. The one other thing I will say about Italy, not really more as a tip, but the food.
So good.
I think that's a good point to kind of end the travel on, is the food is extremely fresh. It's very different than America.
So different.
It's just
no preservatives.
It's very, very good. Is all
I ate so much bread and cheese there, but it wasn't like what you get here.
I'll give an example. Basically, for me, I really will eat anything except for mushrooms. I can't do mushrooms. And I know I get in debates about this all the time, but I will eat really anything else. Anything you put in front of me, I'll eat. And even if there's a mushroom, I'll eat around it or whatever. But so my point is that the only other thing that sometimes I just like to take off a sandwich or something is tomatoes. I like tomatoes. I'll eat them and no problem. But sometimes I'm just like, take the tomato off. I got a tomato on like every single sandwich or anything I got, and they were like the best tomatoes I've ever had. It was just so fresh, and so like I didn't even, care that they were on there. It was just delicious.
I feel like everywhere we went, it was a lot of like farm to table, where
Definitely.
They grow it, they're putting it right in front of you.
Yeah. So it's good. I mean, the pasta, the wine, the pasta, all the cliche. We don't want to spend so much time on that stuff because that's all this.
You could drink 2 bottles of wine and just not even feel it. Like there's no nitrates, there's no crap in it.
I mean, it was that's the common stuff that you hear about and know, so we don't need to spend a lot of time on it, but it's true. We're not talking about it because not real. The food was delicious. The pasta, in Naples, they're known for pizza. The street pizza that we got at Naples was unbelievable. Tuscany and stuff, maybe more for the pasta and the wine and stuff like that. It was delicious. That's the unique thing of these little cities. Like one of the cities in Amalfi, I forget which one it is, but it was next to Positano, is known because that's where zucchini noodles were like originated from. So they have like these little towns have unique pieces of Italian dishes where like that was their origin. So like getting that, like the zucchini noodles in that little town we went to, like they were delicious because that was their expertise. That's their specialty. So it's just really cool to have that and see that. And it was definitely worth eating the calories. better
Yeah,
for
we
you.
ended our trip in Italy in Florence, which is, a little bit of a bigger city, not huge, really old, still a lot of stone buildings. It's not like a New York City at all, but they still have a lot of the shopping, a lot of restaurants, a lot of stuff to do. We stayed at a hotel right on the river there, and we went there the first time we went to Florence just for like a couple hours and checked it out. And we knew we liked it, so this time we stayed a couple nights, and I would definitely go back to Florence. There's just something about it for me personally that,
A lot of shopping there,
really
too.
ideal.
Definitely a shopping spot in Florence, for sure. But a lot of great spots. There's a ton of spots we didn't even mention there in Italy that we didn't touch and haven't been to still, too. So, but strongly recommend. I'm glad it's off the list. I have another country off the list for now, which is cool. And excited to see what the next one will be.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be
Make an adventure out of it. Plan a trip out there. If you need any tips, we got,
we have a lot of hours under,
a lot of
under
options,
the belts.
a lot of research.
A lot of hours under both of our belts with the travel stuff for sure. And yeah, a lot of people, they're thinking about, with their money, with their retirement, all these things that we talk about all the time. They want to, maybe they've had a good year, or enjoying is important too. We talk about that on this podcast a lot. So if you have a bucket list thing, tomorrow's not guaranteed for anybody, not to be that person, but it's true. And, there is a piece of it that sometimes, you do have to enjoy and make sure that you are enjoying your money and your life and doing those things while you can, because you never know what could happen and it might not be possible, in a different time. So there is a piece of that too that's important, and we always try to strive people to encourage them to do that. Italy would be a good place to do it.
Yeah, great place.
But thanks again for listening. Italia was beautiful. And so grazie. We'll see you next time. Ryan Kuss, President and Financial Planner. Alexander Dinzer, Managing Director and Financial Planner. Andrew Henricks, Financial Planner. Securities and advisory services offered through Cetera Advisor Networks, LLC, member FINRA/SIPC, a broker-dealer and registered investment advisor. Cetera is under separate ownership from any other named entity. Tax planning services offered by Horizon Advisors. Tax and accounting services provided by Horizon Advisors CPA. Cetera Advisor Networks does not provide tax nor accounting services. For a comprehensive review of your personal situation, always consult with a tax or legal advisor. Neither Cetera Advisor Networks LLC nor any of its representatives may give legal or tax advice. The views stated in this podcast are not necessarily the opinion of Cetera Advisor Networks LLC and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities. Due to volatility within the markets, opinions are subject to change without notice. Information is based on sources believed to be reliable. However, their accuracy or completeness cannot be guaranteed. Past performance does not guarantee future results. Investors cannot invest directly in indexes. The performance of any index is not indicative of the performance of any investment and does not take into account the effects of inflation and the fees and expenses associated with investing. A diversified portfolio does not assure a profit or protect against loss in a declining market. All investing involves risk, including the possible loss of principal. There is no assurance that any investment strategy will be successful. Distributions from traditional IRAs and employer-sponsored retirement plans are taxed as ordinary income and, if taken prior to reaching age 59.5, may be subject to an additional 10% IRS tax penalty. Converting from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA is a taxable event. A Roth IRA offers tax-free withdrawals on taxable contributions. To qualify for the tax-free and penalty-free withdrawal of earnings, a Roth IRA must be in place for at least 5 tax years, and the distribution must take place after age 59.5 or due to death, disability, or a first-time home purchase, up to a $10,000 lifetime maximum. Depending on state law, Roth IRA distributions may be subject to state taxes. Investing in mutual funds is subject to risk and loss of principal. There is no assurance or certainty that any investment strategy will be successful in meeting its objectives. Exchange-traded fund and mutual funds are sold by prospectus only. Investors should consider the investment objectives, risks, and charges and expenses of the mutual fund or ETF carefully before investing. The prospectus contains this and other information about the product. Contact Alexander Dinzer at 5455 Corporate Drive, Suite 306, Troy, Michigan 48098 or 248-265-6662 to obtain a prospectus, which should be read carefully before investing or sending money. Horizon Advisors, 5455 Corporate Drive, Suite 306, Michigan 48098.